Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Roundup. No special announcements or anything, so let's jump right in. First up, 8BitDo has just opened pre-orders on a Hitbox style arcade stick, and there's two versions available. One is labeled for Nintendo Switch and Windows that has retro-themed colors like their original arcade stick, and both Bluetooth and 2.4 gig wireless as well as wired support. But there's also an Xbox Series X version that has RGB lighting around the buttons but does not have Bluetooth. It does have USB functionality and 2.4 gig wireless as well. The price is $90 and $100, $100 for the Xbox version, and they're due to ship to customers on July 15th. Now, this is kind of interesting because it's sort of like their original arcade stick, but since the stick itself is gone, replaced by buttons, like standard Hitbox style controllers are, it didn't need to be as thick. So they made it much thinner in order to just slim the package down. So I'm not sure how that's actually going to work out because sometimes the heft of a controller keeps it on your legs if you're just trying to play at a tournament or something. But overall, it looks pretty neat. So it seems to be one of those things where if you like Hitbox style controllers and you like the functionality of 8BitDo controllers, then this might be a good fit. It's got some neat features like depending on which mode you use, the buttons will actually change labels automatically, so you'll know which buttons are which, and it's got their software that lets you configure everything. Now, unfortunately, as usual, 8BitDo refuses to post any lag test numbers. The original arcade stick had 7 milliseconds of lag in Bluetooth mode, so half a frame, which is very good, around 11 milliseconds in 2.4 gig wireless, and USB wired modes. So that's kind of weird that Bluetooth is less. So maybe it's the same, maybe they improved it a little bit. No way to tell until it actually arrives. But if thin Hitbox style controllers are something that you're interested in with a ton of connectivity and functionality, definitely check out the post with the links and everything and just see if it's something you're interested in. Next up, Marco Retro just posted another video in his downscaling series, this time focusing on the Extron EDID method to downscale to 15 kilohertz, and specifically how to add 480i support to the Extron DVS 605. So this is definitely a niche within a niche here, but this is the type of stuff that I think is really important to archive and get the info out there, because so many times since I started RetroRGB, not only have I had these questions myself, I've seen many people post across every place you could post about, hey, I'd love to just get a brand new OSSC Pro or RetroTink 4K Pro for downscaling, but I have access to this old Extron equipment. Can I just use this instead, even if it may or may not be as good? And the answer many times is, in that scenario, yeah, absolutely. Depending on what you need to do, it might just be everything that you need and you don't have to spend a ton of money. You could just get it used, or if you work at a place that has leftovers, maybe you could just pick them up. So this method is definitely something that's worth checking out. And the DVS 605 actually seems like a pretty interesting device as well. I'm going to try to pick one up myself if I ever see one pop up cheap on eBay just to test this stuff out. But essentially the trick is setting the output to 1920 by 480i, and that allows the Extron to process the signal the way it knows how to, but CRTs don't care about width, they just care about vertical height and refresh rates and stuff like that. So it's kind of like the same thing as the Mr. Super Resolution trick, but definitely just give this a watch if you have one of those Extron devices, or if you're just like me and you're a nerd who wants to know the answers to some of these weird and fun questions. Tito from Macho Nacho Productions just posted a first look at the VMUPro, which I've been talking about for the past couple of weeks, and it's essentially the Dreamcast version of the MemCard Pro, and it was really great to see it in action. And I think it's very fun to see the emulation capabilities of it, and it's cool that Tito confirmed that the memory card support works exactly as you want it, either just as one big memory card or individual per game. But the thing that really struck me is once they get the connect to a different VMU functionality working, this would end up being the easiest possible way to transfer saves for any memory card that I could think of, because you would literally just plug them into each other and then use the VMUPro to transfer your saves over. So I think that functionality alone would be worth it for people who even might have a whole bunch of VMUs that still work fine. But I just love these things. I think they're exactly what any power user might want. I think if you're a super casual Dreamcast player, stick with the cheapest thing you could find. But I mean, I picked them up for my consoles, and even the ones that, I don't really use nearly as often as the others, because I just think the functionality is awesome and they're always adding new things. So pre-orders are still open for this. It's still about $80 plus shipping. And if you want all of the details, definitely check out Tito's video, because it's just a great first look at what this thing can do. And hopefully he'll follow up right before release at the end of the year to see what the final version looks like and what some of these features got tweaked to be in the release version of it. Next up, Todd from RetroFrog has just opened pre-orders on a Neo Geo style arcade stick called the LS4, which is meant to resemble the arcade stick that came with the Neo Geo AES consoles, and it's also meant to be a high quality replacement. It's got Famitsu LS56 levers, Famitsu PS14D 24mm buttons, and a 15-foot Neo Geo controller cable, which is also wired for Supergun use as well. And since there's only 4 buttons, select and start, plus the control stick, then it should be compatible with basically every single Supergun out there. The price is $150 and it's due to ship in July. So there's a couple of things about this. First of all, if you were looking for a fully loaded controller that does absolutely every feature for every console, then this isn't for you. You probably would want to get the Octopus, which is a lot more expensive, but all of those features are built in. But on the flip side, if you're looking for a 4-button high-quality controller, especially directly for use with Neo Geos, but really any Supergun that doesn't require a 6-button controller, this is certainly something to consider. And I like the fact that it's just got a direct wired Neo Geo output, because the latency is 0. And I don't mean as basically 0, I mean literally 0, proved on an oscilloscope many, many times. So this is certainly something that you'd be willing to use with anything that has a Neo Geo controller adapter as well. So you can get one of those awesome Damon Byte ones that's 1 millisecond latency that goes into a Mister or basically any USB device. And I guess this is just something where take a look at the pictures, check out Todd's website, see if this is something that you think would be a good fit for your setup. And if so, go for it. And if not, that's cool too. But if you were looking for a 4-button Neo Geo style controller, you should at least check out the post and the links, because this might be exactly what you're looking for. Next up, Kyle from Kaitour Industries has just released the SCART Point, which is a SCART to Extron Crosspoint adapter. And this is both available for sale as well as open source. And this is a pretty cool design, because while there's other designs out there that do basically the same thing, and a bunch of other stuff out there that you could kind of use to do the same thing, this one's designed to fit and look really nicely into your setup. And it comes with the full kit that you would need, including an audio adapter as well as the SCART brace adapters that Kaitour sells, to allow you to lock your SCART cable into this thing and have this thing lock into the Crosspoint. And it's got a bunch of different modules. It has upper and lower for both the input and output. So if you check out the picture here in the post and also on the website, you can see that they'll kind of go next to each other, so that way you could evenly fit everything in place. So that way, even though the Crosspoint BNC connectors are all kind of close, this still will allow you to just sort them properly. And that alone I thought was a really cool addition to it. On the input side of things, it has a switchable sync stripper, which you only really need if you got the wrong cables, or if you have PlayStation consoles, or if there were other things. Like I do know people out there that got sync on composite intentionally so that they could have both signals through the same cable. But either way, unless it's pure C-Sync, your Crosspoint's not going to accept it. So having a switch for that is great. Basically leave it off and only turn it on if you need it, and then everything should be fine. And on the output side of things, there is a resistor built in on the sync line to make sure that the output signal is proper to SCART devices as well. So it's $45 each, which is certainly expensive, but not a ripoff, because you get the SCART point, and remember the input modules have that circuit built in, but you also get the SCART brace, you get BNC adapters, so you're able to connect those to the Crosspoint, and then this allows it to slide it right in. Plus you get the Phoenix connector adapter for audio, and even a little pigtail audio cable. So basically, if you need the matrix switching of a Crosspoint, or if you've already got something like that and you just want, maybe you have a mix of component and VGA and SCART as well, this is a great addition to that. If you're just somebody that needs a bunch of ins and outs, picking up Artemis's SVS would most likely be a better solution for you, although not necessarily cheaper, but kind of just better overall. But I love that there's choices for everybody, and I also love that there's accessories like this. And I'm not really sure how long Kyle's going to be selling these because with everything that's happening with shipping and all that stuff, the price would just go through the roof. So this might be the last chance that you get to buy it directly from the creator. So if you were like, oh, maybe I'll wait to the next batch, you should probably just buy this one, or feel free to make your own. And if you don't need the sync stripper, it might actually be a pretty easy build for you, all things considered. Time consuming because it's a lot of pins to solder, but who knows, maybe that's something you might be interested in. But either way, check out the post for links to everything, and thanks to Kyle for making more cool stuff. Rodrigo Copetti just released his second book in the Architecture of Consoles series, this time focusing on the Sprite decade. So NES, SMS, TurboGrafx-16, Genesis, Super Nintendo, and Neo Geo. And while everything I said about the first book, which was about Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, still applies here, it's great to have physical copies of it. If you're just a retro hardware nerd, it makes a great coffee table book. I don't know if people still say that anymore, but I'm old and I heard that growing up, so I'm going to keep using it until somebody corrects me. But of course, developers could also use it as a physical reference if they need to have something next to them while they're working on things. And all of that still applies here, except this is these contain my favorite consoles now. So I picked up this one. I have pictures of the one that I bought here showing that, the front cover is really nice and showing all the cool pictures and diagrams you get on the inside. But basically, this is just something that, exactly like I said about the previous book, if you like these consoles, if you're a hardware dev, or if you're just a nerd, consider picking one up. It's $30, and it's just something fun to have. Now, everything Rodrigo does is free. You could go right to the website, and you could just read exactly everything that you see here. You could buy Kindle editions of it, although the pictures are going to be, significantly less quality than you'd see in these books here. But I personally love physical copies of stuff like this. And I think for me personally, I'm going to pick up all the ones that really hit my favorite consoles and maybe just reference the website for the other ones. But this is very cool. Check out links if you're interested. And thanks to Rodrigo for continuing to make these. Next up, Greg from LaserBear is now selling a homebrew version of the receiver for GameCube WaveBird controllers. And this is called the Wave Phoenix receiver, which is based off of an open source project from creator James Smith. And the price is $25. And I think the stock that Greg had was sold out, but he also opened pre-orders on the next batch because all of the parts are currently en route. So there shouldn't be a big delay. If you end up getting just the pre-order version of it, you should still get it by July. And I think this is awesome because there are so many WaveBird controllers out there that are working but missing receivers. Either they were lost or damaged or whatever. And they're starting to get pretty expensive on eBay. So now you could pick up the excellent WaveBird controller as well as one of these, and you could probably do it for a lot less. I have links to the original WaveBird controllers on eBay if you're looking to pick one up. And the prices I definitely saw for the originals with receivers were significantly higher. So this is cool. This would allow you to use a homebrew version and just still use that very cool controller. Also, if you want more info on the project, I definitely recommend checking out James, the original creator's GitHub page, because he goes over the development process, protocols, and the wireless Gecko system on chips that he used to make these. So I thought that was pretty cool. And the only other thing to note is instead of the wheel on the bottom to select pairing, there's actually just a single pairing button. All you have to do is press it to sync, wait for the LED to start blinking, then hold X and Y on the WaveBird controller, and then just wait for the LED to go solid, and that means it's paired. So that's pretty cool. Also, it is compatible with any future firmware updates that James might post, and it'll ship with firmware version 090 pre-installed. So if you want any more info or just links on where to buy all this stuff, definitely check out the post. But this seems like a no-brainer for anybody who's got a WaveBird controller but lost the receiver. Now it's time for this week's Mr. Updates, care of Lou from Lou's Retro Source. As usual, I'm going to skim through these and just give my thoughts where I feel like it, but if you want all of the details and visual examples, please check out Lou's video. First up, Jason A has just posted a core for the Luxor ABC80 personal computer, which is a Swedish home computer from the late 1970s and early 80s. It's not officially released, but if you jump on the Mr. page, then you'll be able to try it out and possibly give feedback. Next, Taki posted video captures of the GUI interface that his company is creating, and it looks to be customizable as different posts show different formats, and it also showed it working over a CRT. Next up, the developer DAR FPGA has officially released the Naughty Boy Arcade Core, which is a Jaleco arcade game released in 1982, which the goal is just to reach the top of each level while avoiding enemies. A couple of alpha cores for Taito F2 hardware was released by Wickerwaka, and you can get them on the Mr. Discord if you'd like to download them. And these are alpha builds that could run a bunch of different games. So definitely check out the video or the post to reference it if you want to start testing those things. Next, Hotego has added Sky Kid Deluxe to the JT Thunder Core, which is a side-scrolling shooter from 1985 by Namco. And this is a beta core, so it's Patreon subscribers only for now until the bugs are worked out, and then it's public. Also, Pixel Cherry Ninja conducted an interview with Hotego asking several questions regarding core development. So if you're interested in behind-the-scenes stuff, check that one out. Also, Mr. Fusion got the newest version of Update All, and then it was removed. So Mr. Fusion is the software that allows you to very, very easily flash a micro SD card and build a Mr. without any of the manual stuff. And it didn't have Update All basically forever. It just had the standard update, and I guess they added it and removed it. And I sort of understand, because Update All is an awesome piece of software that I completely rely on, and I'm very, very happy to support the Epsilon on Patreon so that you can continue to make it. But it does kind of walk that gray area of, is there things that people might get in trouble downloading? Is it better to just not include this and have somebody manually add one single file? So I understand. I totally get it. And while it would just make everybody's lives easier to include it, the purpose of these projects, stuff like the Mr. project, is longevity as well as accuracy and stuff like that. You don't want these things to start disappearing from GitHub. So I totally get it. And it really is as easy as just dropping one file on. That getting started Mr. video I did years ago, 2 years ago, whatever, it's still 100% accurate and still is that easy. So, thanks to everybody for working on this stuff, and I totally get it. Next, Robert Pipe just added border support to the latest version of the Game Boy Advance core. And this second GBA core that Robert's working on is the one that's aiming to be cycle accurate. So it's pretty cool to have more functionality on that. But I think to have all of the functionality of the original, it would require a bigger FPGA. But it's still awesome that you get the choice of either now. Jason A has been modifying the Amstrad 6128 core to also support the Amstrad GX 4000 home console and the 6128 Plus home computer. Next up, Mr. Organize has been updated with a bunch of different stuff. That is the software that allows you to organize your ROM collection. I still really hope somebody ports that over for use with RetroNAS. I think that might just be really, really handy. So if any developers out there want to work on that, you feel free to contact me or anybody involved in RetroNAS, because I think that would just be a really awesome addition. But that's pretty cool. And it has private editions for things like Infidelity and Rumblemints' SNES MSU games. So that's pretty cool. But I would check that out if you want easy ways to organize your ROMs. Also, as always, thank you to Lou for keeping up with these. There's no chance I'd be able to keep up with it as well as he did, and I'm happy to support on Patreon so that he could keep this stuff going. So at the very least, please subscribe to Lou on YouTube, because that's free, and why not? And if you rely on this as much as I do, consider supporting him on Patreon. Next up, Arthremis, the creator of the Scalable Video Switch, or SVS, has just posted a survey trying to get information about new modules he's thinking about making and selling, and was wondering how many people, if any, are interested in buying each, and basically, is it worth making them, how many should be made, all of that stuff. And there's a couple newer ones to choose from that if you really think that you want to buy these, please fill out this form. It's free, it's not a pre-order or anything, but just be honest about how many of these you think you might actually buy. And there's a BNC output module that supports basically all of the signals, including composite video. There's also a D-terminal input module, which is interesting because D-terminal is essentially component video, but only really found in Japan. So I'm not sure how many people would even use that. But if you're one of the rare folk that would, by all means, definitely fill out the survey. And also an RGB to component conversion module, which is pretty cool because if you're going to a target that doesn't have RGB support, it only has component video, like many consumer grade CRTs in North America, you'd be able to have everything just plugged into this switch, yet have it all output component video as well. So I think that one is going to be a popular one. It's just my guess right there. But once again, definitely fill out this form if you're interested. We'll keep everybody posted when these things might go up for sale, but I think they're all pretty good options. I think the converter is probably going to be the most popular, with the BNC second and the D terminal third, but those are just my guesses. So prove me wrong if you'd like. Go up and vote and let Arthremis know how many of each, if any, that you'd want to buy. Last week, I did a live stream testing Cosam's Neptune motherboard. That's the Genesis and 32X built in. And I wanted to give a quick summary of what it is that we found in that stream. If you don't care, there's nothing after this, you could drop off. But I just thought this was awesome because one of the biggest issues of plugging all of this stuff in together was sometimes you got quality drops. You got some interference from the 32X, or the original Genesis stuff would have some interference on it. So I wanted to check it out, and I also wanted to do MD4A audio comparisons. So I asked Artemio to come join me and help out with that. And as far as audio goes, it performed really, really well. And this would be a top tier solution for anybody who wanted the second Genesis sound chip. Because remember, the Genesis Model 1's all but one revision had the original sound chip, and then there was a different one in the Genesis 2s and everything afterwards. So as far as the second sound chip, this performs top tier and really close to some of the next best solutions that included even having the triple bypass built in. And I compared it to a triple bypassed Genesis 3 from Zaxor, which I generally got really, really good results from when I was doing all of that testing. And that came out great. Also, the video output was excellent as well. And the only issue that I had, which maybe this is an issue with my test setup, if anybody has any suggestions, let me know. But generally speaking, if you take like a one-chip Super Nintendo or a SNES Mini with a RGB mod in it, or I guess even a triple bypassed Genesis 3 or whatever, and you take the OSSC and you dial in phase, when you save that phase, you could, as long as your setup doesn't change, every time you power on that console, phase would be the same. Now, with this Neptune, every time I powered on the console, the phase changed. So if you're using a CRT, that doesn't matter. If you're using the RetroTink 4K Pro, it doesn't matter. But I couldn't figure out why. Now, there might be a power issue in my house causing this. I don't want to go down this weird rabbit hole, but I'll just mention that I was having ground loop issues on my home theater system. I put a ground loop isolator on the rear powered speakers, and that went away, and that was fine for years. And then last week, it started to get hum with the isolator. I had to remove it, even though nothing had changed at all in the house. Nothing major like that. So that could very well be my test setup messing things up. It could be the Neptune, but if you have one of those things in an OSSC, maybe give it a try and see what you think. But it's very obvious. I mean, you don't have to do anything crazy. You basically would just set phase using the 240p test suite, power the console off, power it back on, and if it stays the same, the issue doesn't exist, and it's just my setup. So basically, this was a total summary of what I found, and also asking for my fellow nerds' help if anybody has one of these that they might want to verify for me. And of course, I could always take it to a different test environment and test that soon as well. But I figured I would ask because I have all my equipment here, and I'm sure lots of other people might have those as well. So that was really the only weird issue. But as far as the video quality itself goes, also top tier. And one other thing I wanted to mention, or I guess two other things, is it does work with Master System games. You would need some kind of power-based converter that fits, or just using a ROM cart. But I think that was a misconception, because if you have a 32X plugged into a Genesis and you plug your ROM cart into it, you cannot launch Master System games. You have to take the 32X off. But with this design, you can. The only other kind of downside, though, is that you cannot launch Sega CD games from this, which is exactly the same issue as you had before. So I emailed Crix to ask if there was any way around that for the Mega EverDrive Pro, and I'm borrowing one of the Terra Onion ones with the side adapter, and I'll hopefully do another follow-up stream on that soon to see if that one still works. But hopefully Crix could come up with some ideas for this Neptune board, even if it requires some kind of switch or modification on the board itself. I think that would really just unlock the final functionality of this thing and allow you to really just take advantage of everything. It'd be really cool if 32X CD games were also playable, even though they're all terrible basically, but still just the point of it, right? So that was just my quick 5-minute overview. Kosam did an insanely good job routing everything and making a great product. As always, because I'm a nitpicker, there was a few other things I'd like to see, like Sega CD support. Since that whole plate in the back of the Neptune's available, I would love to see a version where you could populate like S-video, composite, and audio jacks as well. That would also kind of require another small circuit to make sure that there was enough of a buffer for composite video and all of that. But I mean, it's my job to nitpick, right? I'm not supposed to just say good job and walk away. That's useless. I'm supposed to deep dive this stuff and then let the developers and the customers all decide, which stuff is the most important. But I loved it. I'm having a great time testing it. Shout out to my friend who's letting me borrow this thing. And this was the same exact one that Tito did in his video. So while these testing streams are very long and boring, I did get to chat with our TMEO, which is always fun, and everybody in chat's awesome. So I'm always honest about this stuff. I'm not sure I'd recommend telling you to watch a 2-hour stream when I just summed it up in 5 minutes. But if you're an MD4A nerd, or if you just want to hang out for a little bit, by all means, go for it. But I figured it was a good time to do a quick update. And once again, shout out to Kosam because this thing's really good. Well, that's it for this week. As always, thanks to everybody who watches, listens, plays nicely in the comments, and especially thank you to anybody who supports in absolutely any way, because it's you who's keeping all this stuff going. So thank you all so much, and I'll see you next week. This week's Roundup is brought to you by Neo Paradigm Entertainment, connecting Southeast Asian influencers with opportunities in the West.